Welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy Presents, our NBA Fantasy Baller DFS edition for Wednesday, May 10th, 2017. Hard to believe we are already in double digits in the month. We are now one full month into the baseball season. Somehow that feels like way more than 1 month. Doing our countdowns, we are just about a month to a month and a half away from the CFL kicking off. We are 2 months away from the NFL preseason, 3 months away from the NFL preseason, not 2, 3 months from the NFL preseason, 4 months from the kickoff of the NFL. I wish we could announce college football in there, but unfortunately, that does not appear to be in the plans. WNBA action should be posting within the next 10 days or so on FanDuel. That will be interesting to see how they handle that, how big the contests are and things of that nature. So a lot going on in the fantasy industry, always a fun time. Can't forget PGA, NASCAR, MMA constantly going on a basically year-round basis. But today we're here to talk about basketball, and we've got a series at 2-2. We've got a series at 3-2. These are definitely have been the most competitive games of the series. We'll start off with Washington at Boston. John Wall, main target here. He's just phenomenal. Part of me does want to see the Wizards go on, but of the two, and it's a great debate, I really think so, but of the two, I think Boston matchup-wise could give Cleveland the most problems. But let's be honest, it doesn't look like anybody's really going to contest Cleveland. They come around when the playoffs, happen. I did not think that this iteration of the team was going to be able to make it. And the jury's still out on whether they are going to win a championship or not. But nonetheless, outside of John Wall, I think there's several options here we could look at. Otto Porter still returning very good value on his price. Markieff Morris, he's been about a 30% producer thus far, meaning he's exceeded value 30% of the time. The other 70% of the time typically isn't too pretty. I don't know how much of his production you want to credit to Kelly Oubre being out. It sounds like a weird thing. It sounds like they should be mutually exclusive things. I'm not entirely sure that's the case. Nonetheless, at his price, I don't really have much of an interest. I guess it's not the worst thing you can do. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 times out of 11, he's come close to value or exceeded it, but I think you could do better. Marcin Gortat, his price recently dropped on at least FanDuel, so I think there's upside to playing him. Bradley Beal, top-tier tournament play because the price is up there, but we know that he can, if he gets hot, he's going to put up a big stat line. So wouldn't mind having some exposure there. On the Boston side of things, like I said in my article, basically for me, Terry Rozier is about my favorite play for this team. He's cheap, and it's not like he's going to get you 30 fantasy points, but he's a guy who can definitely get you 7.5, maybe 8x, and helps you fit in one extra guy that you really want to instead of having to settle for guys like Markieff Morris. Outside of him, top 2 targets on the team, Isaiah Thomas, Al Horford. Usually, as if this team is playing well, those two are going to be the main culprits behind things. Jay Crowder, another guy. Don't love him at his price, but he could put together very robust stat lines, and that's really what we're looking for. And in this series, he's hit value 2 of 4 times, but really he was really close. And actually, he might have. I don't know what his price was going into the last game, but he's gone over 30 3 out of 4 times. The other time was 26. Isn't going to kill you. One guy I really don't like too much is Avery Bradley. Maybe he's been dealing with a hip issue, but at 6K, he hasn't been the producer we thought he was going to be. He's kind of in that Markieff Morris category where I don't think you can completely rule using him out, but I would just have him at lower ownership due to his inconsistencies. Next up, this is going to be interesting. San Antonio traveling to Houston. San Antonio wins in overtime last night, goes up 3-2. In the process, Kawhi Leonard issues with his knee and his ankle. Now, Kawhi Leonard said he's fine. He said he'll play in game 6. Really interesting, though, that he didn't play down the stretch. I mean, if you think that you're okay being held out during crunch time, and this isn't the regular season, I get it that they still have 2 games, even if they would have lost that game, to come back, but that does not seem consistent with Greg Popovich's mentality whatsoever. So I do have some concerns about Kawhi Leonard. Mostly just the fact that at his price, he needs to do quite a bit. And granted, he did that in 38 minutes, but, what kind of strength is he going to be at going into this game? So first and foremost, make sure to check your news feeds just to make sure that he's playing. If he is, he's a little riskier than normal, but I'm going to trust a guy like him that he's going to be able, if he's able to play, he's going to be able to score and do what he usually does. So I like to have some exposure to him. Outside of that, Patty Mills moves into the starting lineup, produces a solid game. Price is right where it should be for a guy of not just his talent level, but what he's doing on the court. So I have no issues with that whatsoever. Danny Green, always a speculative tournament play. Same with Manu Ginobili. Ginobili's basically been nowhere during this series. Jonathan Simmons, very cheap. Another guy whose production has ticked up recently with Tony Parker out of the equation. So don't mind that. LaMarcus Aldridge needs a lot of time to get the job done, but he's still a guy I don't mind using. Pau Gasol didn't come through, but still someone I'd be willing to look at in tournament situations. Moving on from there, facing elimination, one must really consider James Harden the overall top play of the slate. And to be honest with you, Harden has maybe one singular game out of both series where he's exceeded 5x value. But what it comes down to is just that this isn't a regular slate of games. There's 2 games on the slate. You're going to take his 55 points, especially considering there's not a lot of guys around him that can do that. Now, with that said, I feel more comfortable playing John Wall at 10-6, who's returning for the most part the same value, but more importantly has actually had bigger games than him. So Harden is not an absolute must like we've seen sometimes in the past. Around James Harden, I'm still a big fan of Clint Capella. With Nene up now, his minutes are going to go into the mid-30s most likely. I like that. Ryan Anderson, always a punt option because if he gets hot, then he's going to score some points. Trevor Ariza, again, more solid this series than any other. Eric Gordon has been very solid. Lou Williams, kind of shockingly, has just completely fallen off a cliff and has given way to Eric Gordon. And Patrick Beverley, he's just priced around that level where I don't think he's going to kill you, but I don't think he's going to absolutely help you out. And this might be a scenario here where I would shy away from Beverley, maybe shy away from Gordon or Ariza, and just look more or less at James Harden if I was going to play someone. Because, facing elimination, the star of the team has to put the team on his back. So I think that's where James Harden comes into play today. Hopefully he comes through. Like I said, we haven't seen any of those 70-plus fantasy point outings yet in the playoffs. This could be his last opportunity in 2017. So we'll see how things go. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Head over to researchfantasy.com. Sign up for our NBA mailing list. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Research and Win. And join us again tomorrow.